We've seen some absurd IPOs before, but this upcoming SpaceX IPO might take the cake. SpaceX is targeting an IPO at a $2 trillion valuation. Yes, trillion with a T, which is absurd enough by itself, but wait till you hear this. They're not even profitable. In 2025, they generated $18.7 billion in revenue, but net income was negative $4.93 billion. So, SpaceX is targeting the largest IPO in history at $2 trillion, yet they lost nearly $5 billion last year alone. I'm not quite sure how they arrived at that $2 trillion valuation, but whatever, sure. For a little bit of context, Amazon at the time of recording has a market cap of $2.86 trillion, but they reported 2025 net income of $77.7 billion. This really goes to show just how ridiculous SpaceX's valuation is. Another thing that's ridiculous is that you're watching and probably not subscribed, so make sure to subscribe. SpaceX's revenue overwhelmingly comes from its Starlink business. Starlink accounted for $11.4 billion of SpaceX's $18.7 billion of total revenue, and total Starlink subscribers jumped from 1 million in 2022 to over 9 million by the end of 2025. The recent IPO filing reveals that the company operates over 9,600 Starlink satellites, and that subscribers now total roughly 10.3 million. The other significant revenue stream is the space segment, which includes rocket launches for outside customers. This segment generated $4.1 billion in revenue for SpaceX last year, and came primarily from contracts with the Pentagon and NASA that I'm sure were rewarded to SpaceX solely on merit and had nothing to do with the ties that Elon Musk has to the current administration. The crazy thing is that Starlink by itself is extremely profitable, as EBITDA for solely Starlink income was $7.2 billion in 2025. The problem for SpaceX is that Elon Musk decided to merge the company with his cash-burning AI company, xAI. xAI by itself generated just $3.2 billion in revenue, but burned over $14 billion in cash. This is the primary reason that SpaceX posted a nearly $5 billion loss in 2025. xAI is definitely the odd man out of the group. However, this was all done strategically by Musk. He merged the two companies to allow private xAI investors the opportunity to dump their bags on retail investors once SpaceX inevitably went public. We've seen this scenario happen so many times before, where retail investors are left holding the bag after an overpriced IPO, but SpaceX's has the potential to be the most egregious one yet. The funniest part is that they, again, are targeting the largest IPO ever at $2 trillion, but they don't even have a price-to-earnings ratio because they haven't even made any money yet. And if we look at the revenue multiples chart of the top 5 most valuable companies in the world, as well as SpaceX, the visual is even more ridiculous. Compared to the other 4 most valuable companies, Nvidia looks like it trades pretty high at 24 times its revenue over the past 12 months, but it's absolutely nothing in comparison to SpaceX potentially trading at 108 times its revenue. SpaceX, as well as all the banks leading the IPO, really looked at all this data and still thought the $2 trillion valuation made perfect sense? I think IPO day for SpaceX will be a bloodbath, and as usual, retail investors will be the biggest losers in the long run. Will you be buying SpaceX shares? Let me know, and don't forget to subscribe to stay up to date on all things business, finance, and technology.